US trade representative has proposed new duties targeting 60 economies, including Pakistan and India, for alleged failures to act against forced labor, as the Trump administration seeks to rebuild its tariff agenda following legal setbacks. The proposed tariffs range from 10% to 12.5 PC, according to a government filing, and they will undergo a public comment period before a final decision is made.
Rebecca Bennett has won a high-stakes Democratic Party primary in the U.S. state of New Jersey, setting up a contest against Republican Tom Keene Jr. Backed by President Donald Trump for one of the most competitive seats in the upcoming midterm elections, Bennett, a former U.S. Navy helicopter pilot, defeated 3 Democratic rivals in New Jersey's 7th congressional district, securing about 47.2% results on Tuesday, according to projected results on Tuesday.
As the government prepares the budget for FY27, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's meeting with the country's leading businessmen on Monday offered a glimpse of the wide gap that exists between the two sides' perception of Pakistan's economic recovery. While the businessmen pressed their case for tax relief, faster refunds and deeper economic reforms, Mr. Sharif boasted of the stability his government had pulled off and his intention of converting recovery into growth. The government's narrative is simple. After saving Pakistan from a likely sovereign default, restoring macroeconomic stability, reducing inflation and complying with the IMF programme, officialdom believes the foundation for sustained recovery has been laid. PM Sharif argued that the next phase would focus on growth. He did not say when. But the businessman's proposals suggest that much of the private sector is unconvinced that the investment climate has improved.
White, the tail that is wagging the dog, aptly describes the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The reality is that America is fighting Israel's war. The Zionist state not only acts as a spoiler, but also effectively dictates the terms of war and peace in the region. A recent example of this is Israel's military escalation in Lebanon, which has not only complicated diplomatic efforts to resolve the US-Iran conflict, but has also broadened the theater of war. Despite President Donald Trump's claims of having halted the conflict, the war continues. Israeli forces have occupied a significant portion of Lebanon, and relentless bombings have devastated Beirut, effectively undermining the US-brokered ceasefire. Funding and regular funding is what Pakistani women athletes say they need most to compete internationally. Talent alone, they point out, cannot take them to the world stage. It must be backed by quality equipment, top-notch coaching, proper training facilities, nutrition, and the means to travel and compete. For most athletes, both male and female, except those supported by the departmental sports system, such as the Pakistan Army, WAPDA, the Higher Education Commission, National Bank, Pakistan Railways, police and airlines, the struggle begins long before competition day, finding the resources simply to stay in the game. State patronage is limited, private sponsorship even scarcer, and for women, almost non-existent.
A Tunisian court has handed down sentences ranging from 10 years to life against opposition leader Rached Ghannouchi and dozens of other defendants in the so-called secret apparatus case involving the Ennahda party. The Tunis Court of First Instance on Tuesday sentenced Ghannouchi, the leader of Ennahda and a former parliamentary speaker, to life in prison plus 30 years on terrorism-related charges, to life in prison, 30 years official news agency. Tunisia's official freak press, Tunisia's
The Balochistan National Party, BNP Mengal, on Tuesday condemned an alleged raid on the home of a senior party leader and their subsequent detention and demanded their immediate release. During a press conference, BNP Mengal senior vice president advocate Sajid Tareen alleged that following a clash between security forces and armed elements in the Bulbul area of Zehri, personnel entered the residence of Sardar Nasir Ahmed Muziani.
Islamabad. The Supreme Court has upheld a sentence awarded to a child rapist and a murderer, ruling that individuals who voluntarily become intoxicated cannot claim exemption from criminal liability. Intoxication caused by one's own negligence or recklessness does not excuse the offence. affirmed Justice Mohammed Hashim Khan Kakar in a 3-page verdict he authored.
Economists see little room for growth under IMF programme. Economies stuck in low-growth equilibrium as consumers' purchasing power erodes. Exports, energy costs, policy inconsistency remain major hurdles, with the government preparing to roll out its third budget. The economy appears trapped between two competing imperatives: preserving fragile macroeconomic stability to avoid another balance of payments crisis and reviving growth to create jobs and alleviate poverty. If Vladimir Putin's Russia had an official slogan, what would it be? Russia is what it is, and we're not ashamed of showing it. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov once told me in an interview.
Mutare, Zimbabwe, Deres Mutamanjira was ferrying a customer and groceries on her electric tricycle along a dusty and unpaved footpath when traffic police arrested her in eastern Zimbabwe last month. The officers demanded to see the e-tricycle's registration and her driver's license, which she could not produce. She tried to negotiate, but they fined her $15 on the spot.
An election observation mission from the European Union has denied reports of malfeasance in Colombia's recent presidential race, despite rumours to the contrary. On Tuesday, the head of the EU election observation mission, Esteban González Pons, announced the group's preliminary assessment.
For the past 10 years, Uber's annual Lost and Found Index has provided a rather quirky anthropological snapshot of its riders and even a few insights into society. The annual catalogue of millions of forgotten items ranges from mundane modern-day tools such as smartphones and laptops to more eyebrow-raising objects like live fish, an ankle monitor, a toboggan, a package of live butterflies, and a single Louboutin shoe. This year, Uber is using the report to highlight the same old problem of lost items with a new twist: robotaxis. Thousands of items, it's a bit too new for millions, were left behind in robotaxis on Uber's ride-hailing network. In the past year, the company said Tuesday. There were the usual suspects of phones, keys, wallets, passports, and headphones, along with a few items that strayed into the Who Is This Rider category: a set of dentures, an I Heart Hot Dad's bag, and a blue hat that reads Emotional Support Human.
The federal government on Tuesday, amid deliberations over its ongoing austerity measures, decided to extend the operating hours of shops, markets, restaurants and other commercial outlets, citing longer daylight hours and rising summer temperatures. The decision was taken at a meeting of the Committee for Monitoring and Deputy Prime Minister Austerity Measures, chaired by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar.
In January 2024, the publication Axios reported that the United States president at the time, Joe Biden, was running out of patience with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel's genocidal war on Gaza had been raging for months by that point, and Biden was facing public backlash over US support for the conflict. Data storage security company Sierra is finalising a round led by Evolution Equity Partners of at least $300 million at a $12 billion valuation, according to 4 people with knowledge of the deal. Calculist was first to report the funding deal, although TechCrunch's sources added new details about the company and its financials. The US says it has struck and disabled an unladen oil tanker that was sailing towards Iran as part of Washington's naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said a US aircraft fired a Hellfire missile into the engine room of the Botswana-flagged MT vessel after its crew ignored repeated warnings.
The administration of US President Donald Trump is abandoning the president's nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, United States Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has said, on the heels of a widespread political backlash and legal setbacks. "We are not moving forward with the fund," Blanche told lawmakers on Tuesday after an intense and rare backlash from Republican senators. Period. Microsoft says its new quantum chip is vastly more reliable than its previous version, paving the way for a quantum computer solving commercially useful problems within 3 years. At the heart of quantum computing are qubits, which offer the promise of answering questions that defeat today's machines, but are notoriously delicate and unstable.
In the United States, voters in 6 states are participating in primary elections that will set up the final races in November's critical midterm elections. Tuesday is one of the busiest primary days of the year, with voting underway in Iowa, Montana, New Mexico, New Jersey, South Dakota, and California.
French President Emmanuel Macron has presented a memorial in Paris dedicated to the victims of the 1994 Rwandan genocide, as France pursues closer ties with the East African country and continues to grapple with its role in the historic atrocity. Speaking at the inauguration event alongside his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame on Tuesday, Macron said the monument marked the culmination of a long and patient quest for truth.
When I reach out to the self-proclaimed open-source baddie CC for an interview, I'm pretty sure she's emailing me back from a pink mermaid purse. I'm just having so much fun, she tells me about her seashell cyberdeck. It's a Tamagotchi. It's also an e-reader. It's networked to my vault and my servers, so it has access to all of my server data, which has all my PDFs and books and notes and everything. It's also connected to my local AI setup at home.
Police in Italy have arrested 2 Pakistani nationals for the alleged murder of 4 migrant workers found dead in a burnt-out minivan, according to Italian media reports. The vehicle was found at a petrol station near a village in a vast farming area in the southern Calabria region.
Ukrainians knew a huge strike was coming. Since Russia threatened to step up attacks on the capital, Kyiv, about a week ago, many spent nights in underground shelters. We were 2 floors underground, and yet we could feel and hear the massive explosions above. Then came the Russian drones, possibly carrying more explosives or scouting out the damage done by the missiles. Then more missiles.
The 2026 World Cup will see both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi line up for their 6th appearances at FIFA's Showpiece Global event. Both made their debuts for Portugal and Argentina respectively at Germany 2006 and have illuminated every tournament since. Beirut, Lebanon, on Tuesday. Representatives from Lebanon and Israel met at the US Department of State in Washington, D.C., the first session of a 2-day round of negotiations that Lebanese negotiators hope will end an invasion of their country. The negotiations, which started at 9 a.m. local time, 13 GMT. Come as Israel's invasion of Lebanon pushes deeper than at any point since the year 2000, and as Hezbollah and Israel continue to trade attacks. Israel has killed 3,468 people in Lebanon since March took, according to Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health.
Even Eid al-Adha, one of the 2 major holidays of Islam, which took place last week, has not been able to stem a relentless tide of Israeli attacks, demolitions and incursions across occupied Palestine. At least 33 Palestinians were killed and more than 130 wounded over the 4 days of Eid from May 27 to May 30, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health, despite a ceasefire covering the enclave.
A pre-World Cup friendly involving the Democratic Republic of Congo has been cancelled by the mayor of the Spanish town, hosting the football match over health concerns regarding the Ebola outbreak in the African country. I have signed the decree banning the holding of the June 9 match between the Democratic Republic of Congo's and Chile, said Juan Franco, mayor of La Línea de la Concepción in southern Spain.